The metallic tang of fear was a phantom taste in my mouth, a ghost of a flavor that had haunted me for weeks. It was the taste of deceit, the bitter aftertaste of a lie I couldn't quite swallow. My name is Alara, and I was supposed to be walking down the aisle today in a pristine white gown to marry the man I loved. But I was not walking, I was standing, a statue of rage and hurt, watching a slow-motion car crash of my life unfold. I'll tell you exactly what happened, and if you've ever had to face the unthinkable, hit that like button and subscribe for more. This is a story you won't believe. The morning had started like a dream spun from silk and sunlight. The air in my childhood bedroom, a place of safety and innocence, felt charged with a quiet anticipation that was almost palpable. Sunlight streamed through the lace curtains, illuminating the intricate patterns on my wedding dress, a gown that had been a vision of perfection for months. It hung on a padded hanger, a promise of a new life, a future with Liam. My mother, Evelyn, had been a pillar of calm, her movements graceful and assured as she helped me into the dress. Her smile, a familiar beacon of warmth, was the last thing I saw before the world began to unravel. "You look radiant, my darling," she'd whispered, her hands adjusting a stray lock of my hair with a tenderness I had always cherished. "He's a lucky man." I had laughed, a sound so full of genuine joy it felt foreign now, a relic from a different lifetime. "I'm the lucky one, Mom." Our relationship had always been a complex tapestry of love and quiet tension. My mother was a woman of strong opinions, a former beauty queen who had given up a promising career for a life she often seemed to resent. She was fiercely protective, but her love sometimes felt like a tight grip, a possessiveness that I had only recently begun to question. Liam, on the other hand, had been a breath of fresh air. He was charismatic, attentive, and seemed to genuinely adore me. He had a way of making me feel seen and heard, a quality I often felt was missing in my life with my mother. He charmed my entire family, but especially Evelyn. He'd listen to her stories with attentive retention, laugh at her jokes, and even help her with the gardening, a hobby my father and I had little interest in. They were so close, in fact, that it had become a running joke in our family. "Liam's the son Evelyn always wanted," my dad would say with a chuckle. The humor of it now felt like a cruel, twisted prelude to the truth. The grand old church, its stained glass windows depicting saints and martyrs, was a place of solemn vows and eternal promises, a sanctuary where my love for Liam was meant to be sanctified. Liam was at the altar, a vision in a sharp suit, his smile a mirror of my own, or so I thought. But the phantom taste in my mouth had a source, a bitter truth that was starting to surface. It began a week ago with a panicked late-night phone call from my best friend Chloe. She'd been at a dinner with her cousin, who worked in tech support for Liam's company. Her cousin, a well-meaning but indiscreet man, had shown her something he shouldn't have. A damning text message on Liam's phone, a blurred photograph, and a single damning word: tonight? It was a gut punch, a crack in the beautiful facade of my life that I had desperately tried to patch with denial. I grilled Chloe for details, but she was just as confused and horrified as I was. The text wasn't from me, and the picture wasn't of me. She had been too scared to tell me the full story, afraid of ruining my wedding, but her fear had been more contagious than any reassurance. My mind, in a cruel trick of fate, raced back to the night before, my bachelorette party, a blur of cocktails and laughter. I'd called Liam around midnight, giddy and a little tipsy, to hear his voice one last time before we became husband and wife. He hadn't answered. Probably getting some last-minute sleep, I told myself, trying to quell the unease that was starting to gnaw at me. But now, standing here, waiting for the organ music to start, the unease had blossomed into full-blown panic. I saw Chloe in the front pew, her eyes wide with a mixture of pity and terror. We had a silent conversation across the aisle, a desperate plea from me for a sign, a helpless shrug from her. She had been begging me to talk to Liam, to confront him, but I had been too afraid of what I would find. The truth was a physical weight in my chest, a stone pressing down on my lungs. I had to know. I couldn't walk down that aisle, not with this poison in my heart. The thought of saying I do while a lie festered between us was a far worse betrayal than anything I could imagine. So I did the only thing I could think of. I excused myself, my voice a shaky whisper, and walked, not down the aisle, but to the sacristy. I need a moment, I told the surprised priest. He nodded, a kind, understanding man, and let me go. In the quiet solitude of the sacristy, surrounded by the solemn trappings of faith, I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling. The phone call I was about to make would either confirm my worst fears or put them to rest forever. I called my brother, Mark, my co-conspirator in every foolish scheme since childhood. "Hey sis, almost time." His voice was cheerful, oblivious. "Mark," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "I need you to do something for me." I explained everything, the phone call, the text, the gnawing dread. I needed him to go to the church's security office to get a copy of the security footage from last night. The church was old, but it had a modern security system, a detail Liam, a tech enthusiast, had pointed out to me just last week. The irony was a bitter pill to swallow. He listened, his voice growing serious, his disbelief turning to a cold, hard resolve. He knew me too well to dismiss my fears. "I'm on it," he said. "Give me 10 minutes." 10 minutes felt like a lifetime. I stared at my reflection in the sacristy mirror, the beautiful bride, a mask of a woman I no longer recognized. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum solo of betrayal. I looked at the pristine white dress, a symbol of purity and new beginnings, and felt a wave of nausea. The dress, a gift from my mother, now felt like a shroud. I thought of all the moments that had led to this day. The first time Liam had told me he loved me, his eyes earnest and sincere. The day we picked out the invitations, laughing at the cheesy designs. The hours I'd spent with my mother, meticulously planning every detail of this perfect wedding. Each memory was a pinprick of pain, a reminder of the beautiful lie I had been living. The organ music started, the grand, sweeping chords of the wedding march. I had no choice. I had to walk out there. I had to face them. With a deep breath, I walked back into the main church, my head held high. My mother, seeing me, smiled that same radiant smile, a mask of blissful ignorance. Liam's eyes were locked on me, a look of pure adoration. The congregation turned, a sea of faces, all smiling, all happy for me. My feet moved, one after another, a slow, deliberate march towards the altar. But my mind was a whirlwind of memories, of whispered promises, of stolen glances. I remembered the night Liam had proposed, on a moonlit beach, the ring box glinting in his hand. "I'll love you forever, Alara," he said. "I'll never hurt you." And I remembered my mother holding my hand, her eyes welling with tears. "He's a good man, Alara. You found a good man." But the images were no longer beautiful. They were tainted, corrupted by the bitter taste of doubt. The organ music swelled, a crescendo of false happiness. I reached the end of the aisle. My father, his hand in mine, squeezed it gently. "You look beautiful, my angel." I nodded, unable to speak. He placed my hand in Liam's, a gesture of trust, of love, but I felt none of it. Liam's hand was warm, but it felt foreign, a stranger's touch. "We are gathered here today to witness the union of Alara and Liam." The priest's voice was a distant hum. I looked at Liam, his eyes full of what I now knew was a lie. I looked at my mother, sitting in the front pew, her smile unwavering. It was all a performance, a grand charade. Suddenly, a phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text message from Mark. My heart leapt into my throat. The text was a link to a video file. I fumbled with my phone, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I clicked the link and the video started playing. It was a shaky, grainy recording from a security camera, but the image was unmistakable. The church sacristy, late last night, and there, on the screen, was Liam. He was not alone. His arm was around a woman, their bodies intertwined in a desperate embrace. The woman's face was turned away from the camera, but I knew her. I knew the intricate floral pattern on her dress, the way her hair fell around her shoulders. It was my mother, Evelyn. My mother and my fiancé in the very place where I was to say my vows, a stolen moment of passion. My world, the carefully constructed edifice of my life, came crashing down around me. The illusion of a perfect family, a perfect love, shattered into a million pieces. I looked at Liam, his face still serene, a mask of devotion. I looked at my mother, her eyes fixed on me, a strange mix of triumph and fear in their depths. The priest was asking a question, something about speak now or forever hold your peace, but the words were a meaningless jumble. The congregation was a blur of confused faces. Whispers started, a low buzzing hum of curiosity, a collective murmur that grew louder with each passing second. I took a deep breath, the phantom taste of fear now replaced by the searing burn of pure, unadulterated rage. I looked at the priest.